Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham just went berserk on the Toronto tempo. And they did it after a season of exactly the kind of organizational dysfunction no star in this league should have to play through. Lynn Dunn talking about weeding out players who don't fit the culture. Stephanie White's locker room speeches that somehow never mention Clark's name, even after historic performances. Trade rumors to the Los Angeles Sparks. A coaching staff that spent 10 games running an offense nobody asked for before finally giving in to what actually works. Through every single bit of that, Clark just kept showing up. On Tuesday night, she didn't even need her shot to fall. She went 1 of 8 from 3. She turned the ball over 6 times. And none of it mattered because Indiana put up 113 points, the most this franchise has ever scored in a game that didn't need overtime. Let's talk about what actually happened on the floor first, because the box score from this game tells a story that should silence anyone still wondering whether this team has finally figured itself out. Clark finished with 21 points, but the real number was 14 assists, a season high. Kelsey Mitchell dropped 27 points on 9 of 11 shooting. Aaliyah Boston added 18 and 11 rebounds. And then there was Sophie Cunningham, coming off the bench to drop a season-high 24 points on 6 of 7 shooting from 3. 3 players, 20 points or more. A fourth with a near double-double. This is what an offense looks like when the right players are finally getting the ball in the right spots. And here's something that came out in the post-game press conference that nobody outside that locker room knew about going into this game.
It's called a PRP shot in the elbow. So no, I do think that, just having a little bit of struggle with my elbow, but really did get that fixed. And now I'm starting to stay in my shot a little bit. But also I think our team's just starting to catch a little bit of rhythm. We're seeing what works. We're sharing the ball. Defensively is allowing us really good offensive runs. And so I don't think it's just me. I think it's our team as a whole.
A PRP shot in the elbow. That is what Sophie Cunningham was quietly dealing with this entire stretch while she was being questioned, while fans were speculating about suspensions and punishments and mystery injuries connected to going rogue for Clark. The real story was simpler and tougher than any of that speculation. She was hurting, she got it treated, and instead of sitting out and protecting herself, she came back and dropped a season high. That is exactly the kind of toughness Stephanie White talked about when describing Cunningham after the game, calling her tough as nails, someone who never complains and plays through pain. Now here's where this game becomes about more than just one big shooting night. Indiana has had a real documented problem all season. Blown leads, double-digit advantages disappearing in the second half. A reporter pointed out after the game that this was the first time in 4 straight games the Fever had built a double-digit third-quarter lead and actually held on to it. And Cunningham didn't dodge the question.
I think we did that to ourselves. We had 11 missed layups. We had 11 turnovers in the first half, and we were kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. And honestly, we've kind of been doing that all year, but I think everyone's starting to see our growth. We came out in the second half, and we played great defense. We kind of valued the ball a little bit more, and you saw the ball was popping. Everyone was kind of getting their hands on it. And so I'm just proud of us, and we finally put the pedal to the metal a little bit. And
We've kind of been doing that all year. That is Sophie Cunningham. Not a drama channel, not a fan account, the actual player on the floor, openly admitting that this team has been blowing leads as a season-long pattern. 4 straight games of double-digit advantages disappearing before Tuesday night. And on the night they finally fixed it, the offense ran almost entirely through Clark setting up Mitchell, Boston, and Cunningham, instead of the motion-based system that had been struggling for most of the year. This is the part of the story that connects everything together. Because for 10 games this season, the ball was not running through Clark and Boston the way it needed to. Stephanie White was running concepts closer to what she built at Connecticut and Vanderbilt. More ball movement, less of the pick-and-roll attack that makes Clark the most dangerous player in this league. And the results were inconsistent leads that kept evaporating, exactly the pattern Cunningham just described. It took an entire stretch of frustrating basketball before that approach actually changed. And listen to how Stephanie White herself talked about Clark after this game, compared to some of her quieter post-game moments earlier this season.
Caitlin, she didn't shoot that great tonight, but what did you think of the overall floor game and her ability to still affect the game positively with 14 assists and just setting the table?
I thought it was really good. She did a great job of finding her teammates. Again, her pace. You can tell she's got her burst back. She does a good job of forcing the action in the ball screen and really creates 2-on-1 opportunities. And so then she does a good job. I thought tonight the way she got the ball out on time was really good, and it set her teammates up for great shots.
Forcing the action in the ball screen, creating 2-on-1 opportunities. That is White describing exactly the pick-and-roll attack that Clark and Boston have been building together for weeks. The same action that produced 8 WNBA records against Chicago and is now producing season highs against Toronto. Whatever hesitation existed earlier this season about leaning fully into Clark and Boston attacking downhill, together it is gone now. The results have made the case impossible to ignore. Think about everything Clark has absorbed to get to this point. The Lynn Dunn panel talking about weeding out players whose behavior doesn't fit the culture. The trade rumors to the Sparks. A coaching staff that needed 10 frustrating games before fully committing to the offense that actually works. Locker room speeches that somehow skip her name even after historic nights. And through every bit of that noise, she just kept doing the same thing. Setting the table. Finding the open man. Letting her teammates eat. 14 assists on a night where her own shot would not fall is the clearest possible example of a player who refuses to let anything outside of her control change how she plays the game. And Sophie Cunningham, the same player who went rogue for Clark against Washington, the same player who mysteriously ended up on an injury report the morning after that Instagram post went viral, the same player who has been at the center of speculation about punishment and suspension all month, just quietly revealed she has been playing through a PRP shot in her elbow this entire time and still dropped a season high anyway. That is not a player who needs to explain herself to anyone. That is a player who lets her game do the talking. Every single time, regardless of what the organization around her is doing. Indiana scored 113 points. The most in franchise history in a game that did not need overtime. 3 players in double figures over 20. A 4-game pattern of blown leads finally broken. And it all happened with Clark shooting 1 of 8 from 3 and turning it over 6 times because the engine of this offense is no longer dependent on one player having a perfect shooting night. It is dependent on Clark finding Boston, finding Mitchell, finding Cunningham, and letting all of that talent eat. Toronto never had an answer. And based on everything we just watched, very few teams left on this schedule will either. What do you think? Is this finally the version of the Indiana Fever we were supposed to see from the start of the season? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications because this winning streak is just getting started. We will see you in the next one.